Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lore Foundry with our special guest, Lauren. We don't do last names here, so it's just Lauren.
Cool. This is
I'm
great.
Daron. Greg's over there.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm really quiet.
Yeah, he's not supposed to talk this time, so shut up, Greg. Just
I
kidding,
felt
Greg.
really bad about that. I feel like I'm...
Yeah, you kicked Greg off this
I
podcast
know.
episode.
Shit.
Also, welcome to what I'm going to call season 3? 2-ish? We've had two big breaks around fourth quarter because Greg and I both work in retail stores. And so we're just calling this the next season.
We never declared season 2, but sure.
We're doing it. This is officially season 2, even though it's the third time we've come back from an extended break. So season 2. Yeah.
Season 2.
That means I'm gonna have to actually pay attention to seasons when I'm uploading stuff. Whatever. It's fine. Maybe I will. Probably I won't. In any case, welcome back. I hope you missed us because that would make me feel good. I've got Lauren here because, one, I've been wanting to bring her on the show for a long time because she is, I mean, I'm not going to say an avid Dungeons & Dragons player, but we play most weeks. She's like my, not she, but the campaign she plays in, I'd say is like, was my B campaign, but is also kind of my A campaign, depending on whether or not like my Wednesday campaign is something that I'm running or someone else is running. Greg is non-verbally saying that the Thursday campaign is an A campaign because, let's be honest, Wednesdays are mostly for shits and giggles anyways.
You guys don't really do anything productive on Wednesdays?
I mean, we do.
Just depends on what you're in the mood for.
Not in a while.
Not in a while.
God, see, I felt so bad about us having such a hard time scheduling our sessions.
I mean, make no mistake. Wednesdays definitely meets more than Thursdays, but Wednesdays is much more of a fuck around. Like, it's basically family dinner that's just like Chinese takeout or pizza with a little bit of Dungeons and Dragons sprinkled on. Like, we used to get like probably 3 hours in per session, but now I think generally it's about 2.5, and most of it's Courtney and Ian sharing memes.
Fair. I mean,
and then they get
that's
mad.
Like 80% of their relationship basis.
Yeah, basically. So. And then they get really mad when like I don't pay a lot of attention to them, and it's all the like other side of the table. They're like, "Well, I didn't do anything in the session." Well, you weren't paying attention.
Jesus.
That's how it goes. Which is why it's nice when my A campaign is playing because everyone is invested, right? Because you're all on separate sides.
Big league.
Yeah.
That's pressure. Now we have to perform.
Which is okay. So yeah. So the reason that she's on is because I've recently trapped her character's soul into Thresh's lantern, which was then pulled out into like a soul trap dagger. And so her body is dead, but her soul, assuming that's her soul in the dagger.
We don't know.
It is.
Oh, sweet, good.
Yeah, you're gonna be resurrected. But mainly because she's going along with this gambit that I've roughly constructed in my mind.
It looks awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, I think Lauren could maybe play a temp character because this could be a fun, side quest or part of the main quest to, bring her character back, right?
Yes.
And so my first thought was, well, what kind of a character would Lauren like to play? I'm like, she currently plays a druid.
Yes.
What's opposite of a druid, but still like fits thematically? And I'm like, probably like a paladin or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I toyed around with like, could you be a barbarian, a fighter? You could really write anything into the narrative, but I felt like as far as how would Yira be resurrected, it would probably be something like nature-y, magic-y something. And so someone, whatever character you played, assuming that they helped the party along that
goal. Yeah,
that goal would have to be somehow related to magic. And so I decided paladin, Oath of the Ancients, because we texted a little bit. And you're like, hey man, if you just want to make a character for me, that's fine.
Yeah.
And at one point I made a whole party of dwarves for
Wait, did you
Wednesday.
make multiple options?
No, I just made this one option.
Oh, you just made this one
no,
option.
No, I don't have enough character sheets for that.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And one time I made a whole party of dwarves for Wednesday campaign. And
for a
it
single
actually
person
went
to play?
No, it was a whole campaign or a whole mess of dwarves, one per person.
Oh.
And then I was like, hey, who wants to play what? I mean, I was like, this person's a wizard, you play a barbarian, maybe it'd be fun if you got to play that one. And eventually, due to like action economy and running 10 characters all at the same time, they all got combined, which was a really funny dynamic. But the whole time when they were playing just the dwarves was actually kind of fun because, there was built-in buy-in because I wrote all of them to be together. Like they were all cousins.
That's
I wrote loosely their personalities and I, built them around like what I thought would be a fun play style and they just went with it. It was great.
Yeah, you give them kind of like a framework to build off of and then you're like, all right, go crazy.
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I wanted to do for you for this character. And so...
Hey, I'm actually seeing it better now. This is great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Your
can
handwriting,
read.
Your handwriting is still super cursive-y, but...
Right. Well,
better.
I'm a sadist, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
That and I don't know. I think cursive is fun. It's a lost art.
Middle school teachers around the country are
they're rejoicing at me saying this on a podcast that they don't listen to.
Yes.
And so I picked, Oath of the Ancients because it was appropriately naturey. And I picked Furbolg because I thought it was weird enough, but still like super tied into that naturey and like they're big and brawny. And
for sure.
I think that Furbolg generally are, supposed to be, or they're written as these kind of gentle giants of nature.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like, honestly.
And I think that's really cool, but I also think it'd be really cool to have one just smash.
Yeah.
And so I thought that
those are some of the best kind of character dynamics.
Exactly. And I mean, you're only playing him at 6th level, and so it's not like you're getting any of the super crazy stuff, but I think it'll be neat.
A 6th level paladin for someone who's been playing a druid is still pretty smashy.
Yeah, super smashy and super like smitey.
It's going to make me feel like I'm going to be real happy when I get Yira back, but I'm also going to feel a little bit disappointed because the smashy is going to go away.
And you never know. You may just keep this character sheet and use it in a different campaign. Or at least use your experiences as this character.
This is true.
For, future characters that you play.
It'll help me keep in practice for the other campaign that I'm in where I do play a paladin.
Exactly.
So, there we go.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that I kind of want to iron out with Lauren because, building a character is a very player driven thing.
Yeah, it's very personal.
Yeah. Granted, I built like the bones of the character and like I'm the person who has to like weave it into the narrative. But Lauren's a writer. She's done some world building, weaving, character making, and so I wanted kind of her 2 cents on this. Plus, I really wanted to bring her on the podcast. So, some of the questions that I want to answer collaboratively are, so how is this Paladin's, organization, nature stuff somehow loosely related to Yira's organization stuff?
Yes.
And like also how is it different? Kind of the rest of his background, which I've kind of already written.
Nice.
And I mean, I basically wrote like the bare bones of it, where it's like, all right, this is enough to get going, because I think there's a lot that a person can like explore in session 1 and 2 with a character, and you kind of find out who they are.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's got a couple magic items, and so we're gonna figure out where she got those from, and then also we're probably gonna talk about how she's gonna weave into the party.
Oh yeah, I forgot to ask: is this Furbolg a male or female?
I don't know.
To be decided.
I think most that I see are male.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was imagining as well.
Okay.
For some reason.
I mean, if you want to make it a female, you can. I don't really care, but I do feel like, I don't know, male paladin Furbolg just seems to be more normal. But if you want like this kind of Valkyrie-esque, like slay bitches, kind of a lady, like,
heroes.
Yeah, you'd be. I imagine. I don't know.
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards a male character.
Okay, that's fine.
Maybe it's just because I'm used to playing a female.
And like, so, no. According to the Player's Handbook, Volo's Guide to Monsters, which obviously you don't need to listen to the books entirely, but something good to base yourself off of if you don't want to build all of the lore from the ground up. Furbolg names, they don't generally have them, or they adopt whatever people start calling them.
Oh,
and
right.
So if you would like to have a name that people have called you, you can, or you can just be like,
I think a name will be helpful.
Yeah, or what I was thinking, you could, like, whatever they start calling you, you could just go with that.
Just have them start saying, like, who the hell are you, or what's going on, and just say,
like, I'm here. But you could also say, like, in the past people have called me, and like insert elven name here.
Okay. Like, not actually my name is. No, we're gonna be really fairy with this and not give like straight up.
Yeah.
Like, my name is. No, it's gonna be people have called me, or in the past I have been.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's like, this is the function I serve in the forest, so.
I guess names are your guys' thing, so sure, I can have a name if you insist, but it's going to be because you're giving me one, not because I have one.
Exactly. And so what I have determined, because this is integral to the plot, is that your character sees omens in, like, not everything, but I see omens in many things, and it's like their quest is like what they're supposed to do. And as soon as, I imagine basically as soon as you figure out that these people have like this soul trap dagger that you have to use for your quest, you're like, I got to be with those guys.
I got to be with
my
them.
quest. Like, the next step of my quest starts now.
Yes.
And like, there's no questioning that, like, you need to do it. It needs to be done. And these guys are going to help you do it.
And you're just like, oh, how convenient it is that I ran across these people, because hot damn, this is what I need next. And here we go.
Yeah. And so,
well, in terms of how this character's organization or whatever ties into any organizations that Yira is associated with, when I got to that, I don't know what level it is, like level 3 or something, where you pick the Circle of the Moon is the one that I ended up picking just because I thought it sounded really cool. And again, seemed like it fit because there's a lot of shape-shifting kind of stuff involved with it. So that's what I've got down as one of them. And then like officially is like something that I selected during the character building process. And then the other one is more of just backstory kind of drivel in regards to being associated with a temple dedicated to a certain goddess. And I am going to butcher this name, so I apologize in advance to anyone. You can come for me if you want. Airdrie Fenia?
Was it pulled out of the player's handbook?
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Nobody knows how it's pronounced.
Nobody knows.
If you do, I don't know.
It's like when you're reading a book as a middle schooler and you read the same word a million times and then you finally hear someone say it and you're like, oh, it's Hermione?
Oh.
Shit. That's not how I was saying it.
I fucked that one up for a while. Temple dedicated to a goddess.
Yeah. So those are the two that I was able to kind of pull out of.
Do you have any inkling as to like what this goddess is for or about?
So it was.
I mean, your background is spy, isn't it?
Yes. I'm gonna pull up this name here just so that I can have a little something to kind of give you, because I know this goddess has some stuff associated.
I mean, you can change it how you want, because guess what? This is my world, and you're just living in it.
Yeah.
And I'm a very collaborative person.
Okay, here we go.
Right, Greg.
Okay, so this one is an elven goddess of air, weather, and birds. Bringer of rain, so associated with like skies and air and weather.
Okay, I mean, in what capacity did Yira serve them?
So
were you like the eco-terrorist spy?
No,
it's like, where are these guys going to clear cut forests next? I need to know.
What I had written was something like, when born, Yira showed an increased affinity for magic, so raised and then trained as druid in this temple with this goddess. Basically thought that, this is a way that, because I am a half elf, this is a way that they are sort of bringing me into the fold. How awesome. I'm actually going to be part of this, and I'm going to have a family. Fantastic. Ha! Joke's on Yira. No, it was a way to better train me as a, like, shape-shifting and learn more about what powers I have that are capable to be useful to, in the long run, my mother, who was the one that wanted me to be a spy for her.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. So your mom's kind of a power-hungry noble of some sort, or something.
Yeah, power-hungry noble within kind of the elven community, I guess.
and you're just kind of like, I don't want to be part of your games, Mom.
Well, I think part of it is so half elf. So mommy is the nice highborn sort of Elven noblewoman. Dad was a traveling fabric merchant, basically, who was able to get into the sheets, so to speak.
He sold her some sheets.
Yeah, sold her some
and
sheets.
And he delivered.
And then he vanished, and nobody knows what happens to him. Ooh. And instead of getting rid of me when I was born, they decided, oh, you know what, let's use this thing as a potential tool. And Mom is fairly power hungry in terms of knowledge. She's really after knowledge, so that's why they started deciding to raise Yura as a spy. So Circle of the Moon comes in handy because of extra shapeshifting abilities. It's really easy to pass around unnoticed when you're, say, a mouse or a cat or something.
Yeah. Something that, blends in. A
common
animal that, So I'm thinking this guy probably ties in incredibly loosely with, that temple where they were trying to like train you in your druid magics. And he's probably like, yeah, I've probably heard of that temple before. They're pretty neat.
Or like, oh, the temple that Yura was training at was in this forest. And I'm very familiar with that forest or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But I think otherwise, like, to an untrained eye, which the two remaining party members most certainly are.
Definitely are untrained eyes.
Like, this person's nature stuff.
Oh, they must be like friggin' cousins with Yura.
Right,
this is
exactly.
Great.
Like, oh, you're from X state or X place. Like, oh, I know another person from X place.
You're from South Dakota?
Right?
Oh my God, do you know Yura?
Yeah.
And then you're like, don't just assume that everybody from South Dakota. And yes, I do know her.
Yeah, no. So I imagine that's probably how they'll react, and probably not knowing any better. He'll be like, I know all of the creatures of the forest.
Yes, and Saul is sitting there going like, oh, I remember that Yura was from that forest, and he says he knows it. So hey, this is great. They were neighbors.
And so so there's that. Okay, so and then who does this guy serve? So what I've so far got written is, at first, a protector of the lands of your tribe. The omens of the land have called you on a quest. You must find components to raise the old guardian, an ancient protector of the forest, to aid in protecting your home. I don't know exactly what you have to find yet, but a living soul to power this.
Maybe that's the final piece. You need to give a life to get a life.
Yeah, like a spirit needs to be put into this. I'm thinking it'll be a tree ant, into this tree ant in order to animate it. But there's also like a couple other ingredients that he's going to have to get, probably with the help of...
And he'll make it up to be like, well, these are things that we need for Yura's resurrection.
Yeah, no,
I'm just not going to tell you that Yura's resurrection is in tandem with the resurrection of place name here, God.
Yeah.
Technically, she'll be resurrected, just in a greater purpose.
Exactly. But I think he doesn't understand the minute difference between Yura being resurrected and Yura being used to resurrect.
She is being resurrected.
I think he means well, but is unknowingly like intending to trap her soul in a giant tree war machine.
Sweet.
So there's that. So where did he get his? I guess have she get her. So where did they get their stuff from? Where did he get his magical items from? So you've got an animated shield and some mithril armor. Mithril plate, which plate in itself is like 1,800 gold pieces. So your mithril plate is like super hella expensive.
And you said mithril is more associated with elves.
Yeah. So here's what I think, right? Because we already talked about like maybe he helped out or was buddy with your forest's temple.
Yes.
What if the armor that he got was somehow like a reward from them or like a token of gratitude, and so it's got motifs that
look
the party
similar maybe to things that Yura wears.
Yeah, right. There's like similar flowers on it or like decoration.
Pattern.
Something. So that makes sense. I don't know what you necessarily did. Do you think there's a fun quest that you may had gone on? And maybe it could have been something. Maybe this is a time when your current temp character and Yura like had actually met before.
Yeah, they coordinated on something. Maybe this Furbolg's group and Yira's group coordinated on a joint project for like revitalizing a section of the forest that was, deteriorating or something.
Sure.
Or, anything like that.
I was thinking something. Well, and I suppose Yira started out as a first level character anyway, so there's.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would have to be something incredibly mundane like that, because otherwise, like, when did Yira do that?
Well, yeah, maybe this Furbolg met Yira when she was much younger and still training.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
and so maybe he,
thing.
slayed some shit or something.
Yes.
Or they just, buddied up and revitalized the forest. And he probably, like, recalls her.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, like, I know Yira.
Yeah.
And Riss and Sol are like, hot damn, great.
Like, yes, we're trying to resurrect it. Like, yeah, all right, I can. I'm currently on a quest. This all works out. I have to do a thing, and I can definitely resurrect her while we're at it.
Like, I need to collect some stuff, and we can collect some of the same stuff for you.
Yeah, well, I think it'll be like, no, I'm on a quest to do a resurrection or whatever. Like, I've got to do this resurrection in order to like fulfill my quest, and it must be Yira that I need to resurrect.
Like, how this is fate that we crossed paths.
Yeah. Sweet. So that kind of checks that box. That was easy.
I'm trying to look up like chaotic nature deities that he could have possibly been associated with for some way or form. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
Nature deities, I think in and of themselves are more peaceful.
I think he probably like is more in tune with like the spirits of the forest, which I mean, we've talked about on this podcast a couple of times. They're still relatively loosely
yeah, they're wild.
And so maybe he just like, I think he maybe sees like the forest as it's like ever changing, ever shifting like equilibrium, but he also sees like the Earthshatter Legion that are like pressing in,
tipping the scales a little too far.
Yeah, like actually terrible. And so now he needs to,
Reset
take drastic measures to reset that and kind of, bring it in line.
Often like violent natural sort of gods are related to like weather or storms.
Mm-hmm. Which I guess checks out too with the stuff. So perhaps it'll actually, instead of being a tree ant, it'll be like a great weather deity. I mean, and there are some really cool ones
It
in
could be like the north wind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there are stat blocks actually for some creatures. I think it's in Mordenkainen's. But there's basically like, the giant earth one, the giant storm one, the giant I think there's like the Leviathan.
Is this similar
and
to
there's
like
I think like the Phoenix too. But basically it's like the four elements like put into crazy fucking physical monsters.
Nice.
Like,
and if they were, say, to be resurrected or released, would they cause more harm than good?
Great harm.
Just fucking rock out.
And so I think it would be this guy's intention to do that and use your soul to
the
do
Earthshatter, they're so strong and they're threatening the balance so greatly. We need something equally strong to
and they've already like tipped the scales like pretty heavily with the whole mist thing that they were able to
that
engineer.
wasn't fun.
Yeah, no, one person lost their soul from it. Fuck. And ravaged an entire
city.
At least one city. No, I like that entire coast, probably a few miles in, has been just like ravaged and torn. And so like any settlements that even the Earthshatter Legion had, like they weren't protected. Like,
probably.
Unless they somehow had the Rainbow Flame or whatever. So the animated shield. Where did the animated shield come from?
Okay, explain to me what an animated shield is.
So an animated shield is basically this like magic shield. Where's my DMG? I've got one around here somewhere. Greg. There it's right there.
I was looking at it.
Look at that. Basically, it's a magic shield. This one doesn't have a plus. Oh, look at that! I opened almost right to it. While holding the shield, you can speak its command word as a bonus action to cause it to animate. The shield leaps into the air and hovers in your space to protect you as if you were wielding it.
Wait, so does it like move about you to block
the shield
attacks?
remains animated for 1 minute until you use a bonus action to end this effect, or until you are incapacitated or die, at which point the shield falls to the ground or in your hand if you have one free. Yeah, so I imagine this one is, nature themed, like maybe it's a, created from the bark of
I was just thinking bark, like
the
tree
great
bark.
tree. But basically, you speak its command word, it floats in the air like about where your like arm would be, but it basically allows you to two-hand weapons and have like the shield bonus AC at the same time. That's super
nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Yura carries around a Blackwood staff, and that is what she shillelaghs all the time. And the only thing she really can do any damage with. Huzzah. So if it's going to be out of wood, could it be made out of the same wood that hers is made out of? Or
it could be.
I'm just trying to think of like, do we want to do any more tie-ins between the two characters, or can this be more
I think
of
this
a standalone
would be
item?
more of a standalone item.
Okay.
Maybe something bequeathed to him like by his tribe, or something that he earned on like a different quest. I mean, the dude's level 6.
Yeah, he's been.
So he's got some experience behind him, and he can live up to 500 years old. So,
I didn't know that part. Okay.
Yeah, they age normally up to level 30, and past that, it's just like really slow aging until they die somewhere around age 500. Do
they die like by like becoming petrified like a tree or something?
I think it'd be cool if they like turned into stone men.
Oh yeah. Like return to the earth.
And so
return
like,
to nature.
Yeah, like
it's what
either
they want.
Yeah, they like lay down and then they just like turn to stone, and then like a graveyard would basically just be a bunch of these guys looking like they're sleeping.
Just a bunch of
like,
moss-covered forms of bodies.
Yeah, exactly. And so basically, it's just like their final resting place. Yeah, they lay down and go to sleep.
Visual. But in terms of this,
I wonder if they're. I think if they're slain, their body like just slowly begins to like
the
turn
cut
to
wound
stone.
here starts turning into stone around them.
Yeah,
and
that'd be so
up.
Freaking cool.
Yeah.
All right. So anyhow, this animated shield is
magic floaty shield.
Like was it I feel like maybe
it was a gift from whoever his people were in regards to completing this quest that he is on. Like, hey, here's something to
his current endeavor.
Yeah,
sure.
This resurrection endeavor. Maybe it was something like, hey, we are his people supportive of it? That's a great question.
Yeah, no, his people were like, this is your quest, protect us. The omens have spoken.
You must resurrect this old god.
Yeah, you must. Right. Yeah, you must set free the avatar of. Whoever. Insert name here. Yeah. I don't know. Avatar of really complicated goddess name.
Yes, exactly. So there you go. Maybe it was their donation, their contribution to his quest.
Yeah. Okay, so it's just a tribal heirloom.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go. Maybe it's been with them for a while, and they're like, we are finally busting this out. Dust off the mothballs and dig it out of the bottom closet. Yeah, no, I think I picked this particular goddess because I liked that it listed that she was chaotic and impulsive, did not like to stay in any place for too long, and seldom involved herself in the like ongoings of her fellow deities.
Ooh.
So she's a very aloof goddess.
So she's aloof. Well, she's aloof with other deities, but I wonder if she likes to meddle with
oh, hell yeah.
Okay, so I think this like the avatar that he's trying to like summon or whatever.
Maybe it is Yura's goddess.
Is like an avatar of Yura's goddess, and perhaps
there's gonna be some real conflict with Yura there,
right?
She's gonna be not so sure. About it.
But I feel like first of all, the plan needs to succeed. In order for Yura to be resurrected, like you as a player,
yes,
in order to get your character back, need to succeed in turning her into this avatar. And I think like as a reward for her service, because she's a servant of the goddess who this avatar is for, is like rewarded like with herself back, like resurrected her. And so I mean to ask you as well, would you rather be resurrected like as Yura, whole, whatever, or would you want to be reincarnated perhaps as a different race? Which I think would be like extra super spooky special.
I've seen that in other, like we listened to, Josh and I listened to NADPod.
Yeah.
The Not Another D&D podcast one. And that happened with one of their characters. So I've seen that happen before where he went from being a human character who was raised with dwarves to being, I think, a half-elf character. So it was a big change for him because he went from being more of like a giant tank type of person to something totally different.
So I think you could be reincarnated, and there's a solid case to be made that you'd be reincarnated like as a full elf, or reincarnated as a Ganassi, or we could just really fuck you up and make you a dwarf, or make you a
use a random table.
Jesus Christ,
we have
don't
those.
Leave it to fate. The
Pathfinder one has cats on it.
No,
oh my god,
I don't want to be a furry.
That's amazing.
No, not a furry, a cat.
I feel like that's worse. Yeah, I feel like that's worse.
You'd be like an awoken cat.
Oh,
my
God.
that'd be hilarious.
But that's it. But imagine a Yira and
I think
a cat. She would just be even more disappointed in everybody because she'd have that extra feature of the cat's resting bitch face.
And here's the other thing. Due to the chaotic nature of the god, do you think she would have just fucking spun the wheel?
Mayhaps.
Mayhaps. But are you willing to deal with whatever happens? Yeah, like some of your stats could change.
Oh fuck.
I think it'd be super fucking cool. I will grant you an extra something for going along with this gambit. So first of all, so you guarantee get your character back.
Yeah, that's fair.
But if you let me spin the wheel, you'll end up, getting an extra feat or an extra something.
Can I limit what is on that wheel?
I'll give you 3 eliminations.
Things that are like more associated with either this goddess
more
or
like natural druid
like
stuff.
nature-y kind of related things. Like you said, Ganassi or like a full elf or I don't know, what are other things that are, or this thing, a furbolg?
Yeah, it could be a furbolg.
Yeah.
That would be
fucked up.
That would be irony.
Ugh.
Not irony. Wouldn't not. No, that wouldn't be irony. Coincidence, perhaps.
Coincidence, yeah.
Gnome. I'm gonna list some stuff off. Gnome, you get 3 strikes.
All right, just let me grab a pencil here.
You should roll at the table when it happens.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. But with this modified list,
I gotta grab a pencil. How do you spell? Is it Gnome?
Yeah. So yeah, gnome, halfling, dwarf.
God, they're all so short.
Human. Elf. Half elf, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a chance to just be a half elf again.
Okay.
You've got son of a gun. Why can I not think of any? What are the other standard freaking races? You got tiefling.
I've got a.
Is the tiefling nature related?
No, not at all.
Not particularly.
You get strikes.
Race and sub-race in it.
Hey, I thought we were limiting to. Oh fuck.
You get, it's either we're limiting, okay, I'll give you 4 strikes because there's a lot of fucking classes or a lot of races these days.
Jeez.
All right, Greg, what's your list?
We can't have a party with 3 tieflings. That's just going to be bullshit.
That'd be so bad.
That'd be so bad.
There'd be salt everywhere.
Everyone would hate us.
So I'm just seeing a fan-made list right now, but it has all the sub-races in it. Human, high elf, wood elf, eladrin, hill dwarf, mountain dwarf, stout halfling. Like, we're going through the normal stuff. Dragonborn, tiefling, Azamar, Aarakocra, Goliath, all the different kinds of Ganassi, Tabaxi, Furbolg, Triton, Kenku, Lizard Folk, Durgar, Drow, Kobold, Orc, Hobgoblin, Goblin, Bugbear, Yuan-Ti, Pureblood.
Oh my god.
I don't even know what half of these are.
Okay, so I'm gonna
You're bad influence.
I'm going to DM strike most of the like monstrous races.
That's the fun part.
I don't think that it would fit. So okay,
can there be some sort of like, instead of it being a different race altogether, can there be some sort of like, if the goddess is a chaotic goddess, can there be some? Yeah, can there be something that's like, all right, I'll resurrect you, but you're gonna be much more closely tied to me now, and like when I call you or I need you for something, you're gonna come, no questions asked. Oh, and also if you disobey me, I will literally just kill you, and you'll just return to me.
You could just be a dryad with a penchant for disguising yourself. Also, after this, I'll grant you, well, maybe not a free level, but we'll make this long enough where everyone will level up. You could take a level in Warlock. I may just give you the level in Warlock for free.
Why Warlock?
Sorry, not Warlock. What am I thinking of? With a patron. Is that Warlock?
Warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, Warlocks get their power from a god.
From a it doesn't necessarily have to be a god.
So like,
but
you
could just pick some Warlock class features.
Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, just randomly just be like, all right, that and that.
Yeah, so you get I'll let you like pick an invocation.
I'm thinking like, okay, if this goddess is chaotic and she's like, all right, I'll resurrect Yira.
So that's we'll call that the deal then. So you roll on this table, or you end up being a fucking
I don't want to be like a
dryad, basically.
Yeah, I would be much more inclined to go for the dryad
All right,
version,
so
or
you'll
like
be-
have her resurrect her and be like, all right, you basically look like yourself, but
Yeah, you're just like a
you're just one of mine now.
a piece of wood person.
Yeah, like you're just basically a wood with some really, really good convincing paint on the outside.
Yeah, well, and you'd probably have the ability to disguise yourself or whatever, or
Yeah.
you'd have to like find a hat of disguise. You've already got a cap of water breathing, so
Yeah, I gave that to Soul because he's
Yeah.
a baby.
Okay, so you'll be resurrected as a dryad, which I think is appropriate. You'll probably that's what I was thinking. Like as a like if you were just a tree ant, which I think is going to be much less dramatic than if you were a actual force of nature. Then you come back to and the whole thing. Maybe he like stabbed it into some sacred tree, and then like the whole thing billows like this giant storm or giant monster, or whatever. Billows
Light
like gets
comes from inside the
sucked
tree,
back into the
or-
tree, and then it like explodes in glorious holy light.
And out comes
and
this
then like
thing.
yeah, like a likeness or your likeness gets kind of like pushed out of the bark.
Yeah.
And you got
You're
like
like,
light pouring out of like your eyes, nostrils, and mouth. You're like, oh, or whatever, and you like fall forward.
Really ungracefully. I need this to be. I need this to be embarrassing. I need her to fall face first into
plank.
a puddle of mud.
Yeah, you plank onto the floor.
Oh, sweet shit! All right, Greg's showing us a picture of, I guess, what a dryad looks like.
I mean,
just some art that I found online.
Great
You
artists.
can have, like,
Good for them.
Like, there's definitely a spectrum of how much of a tree you are that
Yeah.
you can go on.
So
being
I-
a plant person.
I mean, the other thing too is she could be like a dedicated like fall or spring eladrin or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's I think much less interesting than her being a dryad.
Yeah.
Cool.
Unrelated to this, I have in my own writing.
Someone's
in my
definitely fapped to that at some point.
Oh, I would. The unrelated to this, in my own writing, I have a character who is a shifter, and it's genetic, passed down through the family. And when she shifts, it sort of clashes with the other ability that she has as, for the long and short of it, basically an air elemental.
Okay.
And so the air elemental ability is sort of fucking with what she would have been born with normally, if not for fate and prophecy or whatnot. So when she shifts back into a more like her humanoid form, she's got feathers that are
They just kind of like stick
they
out.
they stick around, like they're growing out from underneath her hair. She's got
Does
them
it get
around
worse
her
every
wrist.
time she does it?
Yes, and every as the story progressed in my own story, as things get more dramatic and more cutthroat and more dangerous, and as the powers inside her start kind of colliding with each other, it's like the power she was born with starts fighting against the power that she was prophesized with. And it's
That's
super
neat.
fun. It's great to write characters that lose control of powers that they have. It's super fun.
Which is super cool as something that you can do as an author. Fortunately for me,
Yes.
all I get are making
You
deals
get to
with
set
people
it
at my
up.
table.
Yeah.
But I think it's just a different storytelling medium. This one
Yeah.
is much more collaborative and involves a lot more food and beer.
I'm
I
okay with
think.
this.
And so that's why I like it. That being said, I do want to write more. So let's kind of wrap. I think we've got most of this kind of tied. I'll let most of the personality.
Well, and if this Furbog is not necessarily villainous, not necessarily evil, but in the end is not going to be delivering on what was sort of communicated or expected, at least on
what
Wrists
was
and Souls.
implied.
Yeah,
on
what was
their part.
implied. I really would like to play the character as sort of like like you said, a gentle giant. This is a character that inherently you just feel like you want to trust them.
Yep.
They're just so kind and gentle. How could they possibly be doing anything bad? And in reality, he doesn't think he's doing anything bad. So that even makes it more convention.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make Soul and Wrist love me.
Exactly.
So that when
and then
it comes
you
down
break
to
their
it,
heart.
they're going to just be like, oh,
they think that
tears.
they think that they lost, because I mean they're upset that they lost your character currently.
Oh yeah, Courtney was
they're-
motherfucking pissed.
Yeah, she would have been more mad if I took her character, but
Oh, well, that's because you've
Should
done
have.
that before, and I think she.
that's
probably,
true.
Yeah. Once is fine. Twice is.
It'd be bad. So
I just
that's a lot of
cannot.
fun.
Seriously, that blows my mind that people can just let go of characters so willy nilly.
Yeah, I
I
mean
get
that's what.
so attached. I straight up at the end of our 5-hour session when everything had happened with the spire and everything.
Yeah.
I straight up went home and just had like a moment to myself where I was
You're
like,
oh God, what
everything's
happened?
gonna be fine.
Right?
This is okay. We're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Just like looking in the mirror,
And I
trying to
was
give
like-
myself positive affirmations.
And I was like, if there's a person to take a character away from, I'm like, Lauren's probably not the person, but that's what happened.
Man, it worked real well.
I'm
though.
glad, and
The story itself was
yeah,
fantastic.
I'm glad that it worked out the way it did.
Especially with leaving behind Riss and Soul, the two dumbwads who
Yes,
who are just going to be
My
so
other-
easily let along.
and like my other thought that I kind of really wanted to do was to do that to Soul, but that's just kind of not the way it worked out. I probably could have ham-fisted it, but I
to
thought
get Soul in the Soul.
yeah, to get
Stone
Soul,
instead.
and I think Josh more than anybody else would be like, well, I kind of do want to make it.
Oh, he would have.
character.
I think he would have jumped on that
Yeah, I
immediately
think
for
he
the
would've.
opportunity to have a list like this and just roll the dice.
Yeah.
literally.
That being said, I think you're more the person to kind of like roll like we got to make some drama out of this.
Oh
man.
yeah, I want this to be heart wrenching.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. Okay,
Yeah.
so real quick, one thing before we kind of wrap up that I want to make sure that you want to make sure that we
Yeah.
touch on really, is what Yira remembers while she was in the lantern and then in the stone.
Yes.
I think the lantern was a place of like torment.
Well, there's more than souls in there than just hers.
Yeah, more souls in there than
Yeah.
just hers. I like in my mind, it goes to kind of a supernaturally like, oh, like what happened to
You should
Dean?
meet some. Like, there should... Saying...
Yeah,
That'd
no,
be really cool. if
Like
they're
meet some
other-
people from my past
Just
or
other people that are in there that are maybe significant to something.
oh.
yeah, and I don't.
Do we
know
still
who
have
was-
the lantern? No.
No,
Yes?
lantern's broken.
The lantern's broken.
You
Because we had the lantern, and then Courtney made her
No.
quick thinking and was like, "I'm gonna stab this lantern with this knife." And
I think
was that stabbing like the destruction of the lantern?
Yeah, I think the physical parts. No, I think it dissolved into mist and left.
and just bleh. Yeah.
Which is good that she was able to
Get her out
to,
beforehand.
to get your soul out. But yeah, so you definitely were tortured along with other souls.
Was it?
I imagine it was its own mini demi-plane of hellish torment.
Yeah, where not only are you being tortured physically and it's an immense level of pain, but also some sort of psychological torment of basically
you're-
seeing everything that you ever wanted not come to fruition.
It's like when
it's like the opposite of what you want.
It's like when Mary, or no, Pippin, Pippin, I think.
Grabbed the
Grabbed.
the ball,
Why can I not think of it right now?
the sea ball. The
Sauron's eye. Why can I not think of it?
I can't either.
Whatever.
All I'm
We've
seeing
pissed
is
off enough Tolkien
yeah.
fans. So he sees the Shire in flames and his friends in chains.
Yes. Yep.
I think it'd be something like that, but more of a tormenting you with a future where the mist conquers all. And
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
everyone's these spooky specters and turning, your own family turning against itself and murdering.
I might
children,
feel a little
that kind of thing.
less disappointment if one of those was say my mother, because I don't really have a lot of love for her. But
Yeah.
hey, it might still feel a little bit shit. This really isn't how it's supposed to be.
your mother rises to the rank through the ranks of evil.
Oh, she would though.
Oh, it'd be.
She would though.
And so you saw her rise up, but then I don't know, maybe also get her just desserts. So whatever. In any case,
Very
and you
conflicted.
also meet NPC souls who you'll probably encounter at some point.
Yeah.
Obviously, I have not written all of that yet.
Yeah, but it's
then I think-
obviously up to you.
Yeah. So you've certainly,
So that's
met
all within the
them.
lantern itself.
That's within the lantern. When
Yeah.
you get sucked out, I imagine it's just kind of like a limbo place. There's a
Would it be a matter of every once in a while I would sort of come to a little bit and maybe hear something like a word or fall and then fall back into basically a coma?
Or this is a thought, because think of
You're a thought.
I'm a thought. I'm thinking about how this may appear in play, where maybe you remember some of it, but also this gives Daron some wiggle room.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a dream where you don't really remember exactly everything that happened, but something will trigger a memory, and then suddenly it'll come to, and you're like, oh yeah, I this name, I talked to him.
For some reason this
Yeah.
name is stuck in my head.
Yeah, or something like
Yep.
that. That's a possibility.
Yep.
And I know that's something that I would do because it would give me wiggle room.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's
yes.
that's what happens then.
Are you like,
I
that's a good idea?
totally zoned out.
I can see you're really invested in this, Daron.
I was trying to find a picture of this quest. I think it was from Skyrim or Oblivion, where you have to like go into a soul gem and like kill a guy, and so it'd be like its own small demi-plane. But run me through it one more time because I wasn't listening.
So what I suggested, dear audience, to Daron was that this experience was maybe like a dream where it's not fully remembered without triggers.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
there, you kind of have murky feelings of what it was like, and there's some things that you definitely remember, like you've got a couple vivid memories, but then you'll see something, or you'll hear something, say something, or you'll have like a smell will come by, and then you'll suddenly have an upwelling of memories that kind
PTSD experience.
Yeah, that maybe it was something that you actually did see and experience, or someone you talked to, or maybe some kind of imprint that was left on you from this experience, like some kind of experience, like some kind of reality or memories that were trapped in there. That was
something that left a mark.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think a person, the people trying to take your money at Ren Fair, they're like, oh, you've seen many dark things. The appropriate people in like McFantasyland would be like, you've seen dark places, haven't you? And so like, someone who could
teller.
A fortune teller.
Some corner street hustle fortune teller who doesn't really know what they're getting themselves into is like, oh yes, let me see your hand.
I just think it was funny that you described this person as someone who tries to take your money at Renfest. All right,
they're there. We've all encountered them.
The amount of trusty old ladies you see at Ren Fair just suckering people when they're wearing their stupid ass gypsy robes. Like, first of all, that
not
may be
historically,
offensive.
and also not historically accurate.
Not historically accurate.
You're a peasant. You would have never been able to afford that vibrant of a color.
Right? Purple is for royalty. Yeah, so I definitely think that'd be a thing.
Where Inside the Lantern was very much a torturous, physical, and emotional type thing, and then within the stone, it's more of like a dream. You're not really sure what you remember, but suddenly something might, register and bring something back.
Yeah. And then in the Soul Dagger, I think you have more of an opportunity. There's like an actual magic item that exists somewhere in D&D where you can trap a soul in there, and you can occasionally like speak words out of it, and like you can yell and scream or like project some part of you out of it. And you can also perceive some amount of what's going on around.
So me in the background swinging on Riss's hip, just like every once in a while when I muster up enough strength, I'm able to just send out a little whisper that's just like, bitch.
Yeah, basically.
Why'd you put me in here?
Yeah, so to some extent, you're like a sentient weapon now. But like you can sometimes whisper a word or two.
I'm extra sharp.
And you can kind of perceive what's going on around you.
Every once in a while, get a little
like you were
rush.
in a marble.
The curtain flushes back a little bit.
Yeah, there's a bright light, or you can, you're being jostled around. Like you
suddenly I smell salt water for some reason. Oh, it's because we're near the coast.
Yeah, I imagine something like that. But you're just kind of sitting there, like either formless or like a classic consciousness, like viewing through the dude's forehead in like a movie or TV show kind of a way. Like the place is largely formless, and maybe you can like think up a chair or something, or you just lay down in.
God, my feet really hurt. Wish I had a chair.
Yeah,
cloud chair just appears.
Yeah, right. It's like.
Yeah, that was.
It's like it's maybe the light version of Heck. It's like, this isn't hell, this is Heck. Yeah, no, this is just super boring Heck.
Yeah. Non-dangerous purgatory.
Yeah.
Just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so yeah, that was the thing that I was mostly worried about. Was like, all right, if Yira comes out of this stone thing, that's my first question. Is like, what do you remember? Do you remember anything?
So you probably can hear like muffled talking and stuff, but like nothing
real tangible. Yeah.
And you could, depending on the register of someone's voice, like you could probably
be like, hey, I think
pick
I know
up
that
on
voice.
Something.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Okay, good.
I mean, nothing too like groundbreaking or earth-shattering.
No.
But I'm glad Greg's here to fill the PTSD
Yes.
into that one.
That's a
so
good
thanks,
one.
Greg.
Good element.
That's what we appreciate about you.
You're welcome.
So yeah, I think that kind of, brings us to a wrap. Like, I don't have any further questions that like I have for you about the character. I don't know
think
if you
I
have
got
any...
all the information I need out of it in terms of what our end goal is for this temp character.
And you've got some like, stuff to fill in by yourself. Like you can pick all your own spells.
Ooh, all right.
And as far as filling out his personality, we've kind of already got that. And so, I mean, as far as what we answered, kind of how it ties in with Yura, what his kind of end goal is going to be and how Yura is going to come back, some other details around that, and kind of the nuts and bolts and how to weave him back into the story, as far as like what his experiences are and why the party should trust him, which I think is a really important part of creating a character. As we discovered, me and Greg did with Will's new character, who was like, he wrote it specifically like, oh yeah, we're old war buddies, me and
perfect.
this guy. And so we like know each other and like
That's
that
great
character,
shared history.
yeah, that character like wove in super duper well.
Nice.
Instantly had a rapport.
It was great. And so I think that's a really important part of like making characters that you kind of only get once you make a character or two. And so that's most of that stuff. So if you ever, kill a player character and you're like, well, maybe I do want to bring him back, or you want to have a resurrection story, or you just, I don't know, felt like listening to this episode because it's fun. This is a way that you can, go about bringing back a character. And this is, how I like to build stuff. So if you thought this was particularly entertaining, thought-provoking, inspiring in any way, shape, or form, send us an email. I think it's thelorefoundry@gmail.com. We've got a website, lorefoundry.com, and rate us or something. I don't know. I'm bad
Can you
at
do that?
I'm bad at
Can
calls.
we give you guys 5 stars? Is this like
You
Uber?
probably can.
5 stars. Excellent.
Yeah,
Ryan, 5
iTunes you
stars.
can. I think you can do it on player.fm, which is what I use most of the time now.
Who uses iTunes anymore?
Oh no, it's like Apple Podcasts, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts.
See, that's your
wherever you
podcast
find
voice. We were talking about this.
or wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
Which means that if we're not listed there, then obviously that isn't the place to find your favorite podcast.
Exactly. Screw that place. But also let me know if you can't find me somewhere, because then I'll work on getting it figured out. Because there's nothing worse than someone being like, oh, this is the podcast app I use. And it's like, yeah, okay, you can't find me? Well, this is embarrassing. I don't think there's any other calls to action. Thanks for listening. Lauren, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I think we're going to have another short episode talking more about her and her world building. But until then, au revoir. I don't know if I have any other sign-offs, so toodles.
Arrivederci.
Thank you.
Sometimes I have performance issues.
Yeah, what if you fuck up and then you're just like, nope, this is it, I'm done.
Right? Sometimes I just play it too fast.
Shit.
Right?
I mean, that happens to everybody. It's okay.
And other times, like, the uke just feels so heavy, I can't lift it.